Happy 4th of July and welcome to the Sea-Doo Life. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate today on this GTX 300 Limited some of the basic things that you need to be looking at every time you go out on a ride. Especially this weekend, Broward Motorsports is putting a wreck ride out in Key Largo, Florida. You don't want to miss out, so therefore you may want to go ahead and do your due diligence. And we're going to show you this. We're going to go ahead and take the seats off, we're going to take the back cover off, and we're going to show you the things that you need to be looking at just before you go on that ride. You want to enjoy the entire time, so let's get you there. I start this demonstration, and the first thing we have to do is look inside the engine compartment. It's going to be take off the seats. It's got two tabs in the back. You just press the two tabs, and the seats come up. Now I've got my special helper with me. It's my son, Jaden. Here you go, buddy. Go ahead and put these things away for me, please. All right, the next seat that we're going to do, it's going to be the driver's seat. It's got a pull tab in the center. You pull it up, and it comes out. Here you go, buddy. Now, right after that, we're going to go ahead and follow on. We got to take this back panel off. When you take this back panel off, you'll be able to take a look at the entire back section of the engine and the drive shaft. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and remove the back panel. In order for that to happen, we're going to have to use a drill. We're going to have to use a Torx 30 drill bit and a 10mm wrench. Now, the first two screws are going to have a 10mm nut. The rest of them, you'll be able to just use your drill and take them all out. There you go, son. But this little back compartment right here, it opens up. And underneath it, you have three more screws that need to come out. Alright, now that these things are off, we can go ahead and place the cover back on, and the back panel is ready to come off. The back panel is very simple to come out. It's got a handle in the back. All you got to do is lift it up. Now that the back panel is out of the way, the entire engine is completely exposed. You can definitely take a look at everything and see if there's anything obvious out of place. One of the more important things that you need to take a look at is your fluids. It's very obvious, they're very pronounced, and you should be able to recognize what they are. Okay, now that the cover is off, we're going to go ahead and show you how to look at your oil. First of all, your dipstick is right here. It's the one with the red cap and pull handle. When you pull it out, first time around, which by the way, before you check your oil, make sure you crank up your engine. Let it run for just a few moments, about 10 seconds, and shut it off. At this time, now you can go ahead and check the oil. First time around when it comes out, it's going to come out clean. Obviously, because you just cleaned it. Now you're going to go ahead and put the dipstick back in, insert it all the way down to the base, and pull the dipstick out. You should be able to see how high your oil is. The first line on the oil stick is going to be down here. It means you have oil, but you're low. The second line is up at the very top. This means that you have the right amount of oil. Anything further than this is too much oil. The next thing we're going to go ahead and take a look at is your coolant level. The drain is all the way in the very back plate, but this is where you fill it. There's two markings. There's a minimum and a maximum. You can obviously see that the fluid is about halfway on the container. That is at the right location. Make sure that your cap is properly secured. Now that we have the fluids out of the way, we're going to go ahead and remove this top cover. Now this cover here is going to cover the coils, spark plugs, fuel railing, and along with that, the fuel injectors. So, when you look at all these, all you want to make sure is that all these screws and connections are tight. Do not attempt to take them off if this is not something you're used to doing. You see all these little zip ties and all these clamps and everything else. Just make sure it's tight. Don't tug on it to the extent where you can cause damage. just make sure that it's on there nice and snug and tight. You also have your fuse box right over here. If you happen to have any electrical issues, there's two tabs, one on each side. You squeeze them and the box comes off. And on the very top of the box, it tells you what size fuses are supposed to be where. Once you get done looking at the obvious, one of the other things you have to check out is the battery. Make sure that you touch the terminals and make sure that they don't move. They need to be nice and sturdy. Now you're going to have clamps throughout this entire engine, so it's not going to hurt for you to go ahead and put your hands on it, take a real good look at it. If it's excessively dirty, you may want to clean it. If it's not too dirty and it looks curious, look into it. But if it's something you're not comfortable doing, don't mess with it. Only take it to a professional. You can take it to one of your local power sports shops and they can take care of you. So, we're going to go ahead and continue on. We're going to look at all the clamps. All the clamps seem to be nice and tight. All the sensor connections seem to be nice and tight. Everything seems to be in pretty good working order. One of the other concerns that you're going to have is your carbon seal. Your carbon seal is located right here. Now, it's kind of difficult to see, but one of the things that you're going to be looking at is once the carbon seal starts going bad, it will initially start spraying like a black line throughout the hull. It is going to naturally do that every time you start, especially if it's dry. And it's going to leave a nice thin line. It is still in good condition. But if that line begins to get fatter and bigger and everything else now becomes coated with that black line, it is time to get it replaced before you get yourself into trouble. As you're looking at the pump, some of the things you gotta make sure that you look at is every single one of those screws, nuts, and bolts. Make sure they're all secured and make sure they're all in the right place. Also, you should have easy movement right and left from your steering. That'll let you know that your steering cable is still good. While you're looking at the pump, you want to make sure you identify where the impeller is. It's all the way at the very back. Just on the outside of that, there is a seal. That seal, when it starts going bad or wearing out, it will start feeling like you're losing power. Also, when you get something stuck in there, whether it be weeds, rocks, piece of wood, anything whatsoever, it will make you feel like you cannot move. You want to make sure that when you look in there, you look throughout the entire orifice, not just back here, but also underneath the unit. Now we're currently underneath the Sea-Doo, and this is your intake grate. This is your ride plate, that is your impeller, and that is your drive shaft. Most people, when they get something stuck in there, whether it be a rope, a piece of wood, or some shrubbery, that is normally where it gets stuck, right in there. So if you feel like you're losing speed, if you feel like you cannot move, that is where you need to start looking, because you may have something stuck in there. Alright, so one of the other things you guys have to do to make sure that you're safe when you're going out there is that when you take a good look at your finish on your hull, there's no cracks on the outer finish, there's no gouges throughout. You will see there's some discoloration, like areas like this, where the bump, when it's coming into the trailer, it will make marks on it. You got to make sure that those marks are not actual physical damage. This can be easily buffed off and it won't be an issue, but anything that penetrates the hull could leave you stranded out in the water. Last but not least, don't forget to go ahead and check out your plastics. Sometimes we go through so much rough water that in time things come loose or things may break. So it's good to know that everything that you have on is on good and ready for the next ride. Make sure you check everything from the steering. Make sure the steering handlebar ends are not coming off. Make sure that everything is nice and tight and that nothing is going to come out. So many times I'm asked what kind of products I use on my watercraft or my Sea-Doo. Well, I only go one way. I only go with XPS. To me, it's the absolute best, and it's what the company requires and recommends. They have everything from lubricants to waxes to degreasers to cleaners. Absolutely everything you need to take care of your Sea-Doo. Well, so I believe for today that may just be a wrap, but it doesn't mean that the safety aspect of it has to end. So we're gonna go ahead and go inside, chill out for just a little bit, get ready for this weekend. Now, Broward Motorsports has put up a ride for this July the 10th. It's gonna be an amazing ride. It's gonna have a lot of people in it, but it also means that you gotta be careful. So make sure that your unit's ready to go and that you're ready to ride. I hope to see everybody out there. Please be safe, and I'll see you out in the water and live the Sea-Doo life.